Hello, what is up, everybody? We're going to be going over week 3 of the 2021 football season. And this week it was kind of crazy, especially from that Sunday nighter. We're looking forward to Monday night with the Cowboys versus the Eagles. But with this one, Aaron Rodgers, we're going to get straight into it. Aaron Rodgers, he's a bad, bad man, and I fucking hate him. Being a longtime Bears fan, this guy has constantly broken my dreams. I feel like he just goes inside Make-A-Wish kids' houses and then just shits on their carpets, because that's what I feel like would happen to me. He had 37 seconds left. He ended up killing it. So Aaron Rodgers went down the field from the 25 with less than 40 seconds left. The Packers are fully back. I had some concerns about them. They went and got a field goal with Mason Crosby. It was a 50-yard field goal. The reason why all this happened is because Jimmy G, he had a costly fumble with 5 minutes left. That was the biggest turning point of the game. So the 49ers, they were up 24-21 with 5 minutes left, and then that was it. The Packers marched down the field, scored the field goal. 49ers, they scored with 37 seconds left. And then everybody thought, don't leave any time in Aaron Rodgers' hands. The running game for the 49ers was almost non-existent, but that doesn't really matter when you're facing Aaron Rodgers. You need to be able to keep up with them and then the high-scoring offense. So the Packers ended up just marching down the field with 30 seconds left and just killed them. But anyways, the running game for the 49ers is non-existent. They're used to pounding the ball. If you just look at the stats, Sermon, 10 carries for 31 yards. He had a touchdown, woohoo. Yeah, they had the fullback, Kyle Juszczyk, whatever the fuck his name is. He had 5 carries for 14 yards. Doesn't even really matter. And Trey Lance, it's exciting to see what he's going to be able to do in the league. But, who really cares at this point? I'm getting a phone call right now, but I need to decline that. But Trey Lance, he had a lot of blocking on that play when he scored that touchdown. It didn't really seem to matter too much that he was really good. But I'm excited to see what goes on with him. But he seems electric, but it was from the 1-yard line. This game, Rodgers, at the end of it, he proved that Rodgers is a fucking gangster, and I hate him even more. Rodgers, he had the nerve to say a quote from Moneyball saying, "How could you not get romantic about football?" Except, and obviously in the movie Moneyball, they say baseball. And he completely stole that line, and I'd be suing him with every chance I got. But why does Aaron Rodgers, in the interview, in every after game interview, he looks baked off the Kush Pack every fucking time? His eyes are red and glossy, and he looks like he's been hanging out with Cheech and Chong or hanging out with Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart or something. Or like he pops some perkies, like Juice WRLD, R.I.P. I didn't mean to say that, but he looks like he pops perkies like a dyed hair rap star, and he needs to do something with his hair. Get this man drug tested ASAP, because I wouldn't be surprised if he's doing some other things too. But Aaron Rodgers, he's the GOAT. I hate him, can't stand him, but whatever. For the next game, we're gonna be going into the Saints, the Seahawks versus the Vikings, and we always say every year that the Seahawks they're just better in the beginning of the season. Then during the second half of the season, they blow it. Now, the Seahawks, they're a first half team in every game. They're a 2-quarter team, and then they fucking let the game away. Kirk Cousins and the Vikings, or Kid Cuzzy, my bad. The reason why I like the Vikings now is because I heard the nickname Kid Cuzzy for Kirk Cousins. That's pretty fucking sick. But now the Seahawks, they're just trash. Chris Carson, he had almost all of his rushing yards in the first half. Chris Carson, he had 80 yards. I think he had like 70 in the first half, or it might have been 80. I'm not even sure. And the Seahawks, they gave up 453 yards. It seems like the Seahawks, they've been fucking up their roster by signing these studs to huge contracts like Jamal Adams, Bobby Wagner. I mean, Russell Wilson, he's a quarterback. You got to sign him. And they're going to have to pay DK Metcalf, and they got Tyler Lockett, and they got some great pieces. But in football's a different animal if you can't draft well. So I think that's one of the biggest issues that they've had is they haven't really been hitting on their draft picks, and they've traded 2 firsts for Jamal Adams, and they have a very top-heavy team, and Russell can't do everything, which is why Russell should have went to the Bears. Anyways, not that that would have mattered for the Bears, but the Vikings look good. Kid Cuzzy, he's going to do this to teams like the Seahawks, especially after going 0-2. I'm not sure why Madison was fucking awesome in this game. I mean, I know why, because he was replacing Dalvin Cook, and Dalvin Cook has a very big share of the workload for the entire offense. But he had 6 receptions for 59 yards. Madison, he had 26 carries for 112. And if you run it 26 times, you're gonna do some good things because that shows that they trust you. So the Vikings, they always seem to trust their backup running backs. It doesn't really matter who it seems to be. So if you have Madison in your fantasy team, you're looking pretty good. But the Vikings, they have an elite receiving core too. And Adam Thielen, he's just going to get you a touchdown every fucking game. Justin Jefferson, looking like the real deal. Second year, he's not going into a sophomore slump. And the Vikings defense, they had a bounce back game that they needed. And at the end of the day, Vikings are good, but they're not that good. They probably won't make the playoffs because the NFC West, when the NFC West, they have the Seahawks, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Niners. The Vikings, they could make it, but theoretically, when you start off 0-2, most of those teams, they don't make it at all. And the Seahawks right now, they're trash on defense. They need to get better in the secondary. In a pass-heavy league, they're not going to be able to do much. Until then, they're going to be last place in this division with the Rams, Cardinals, and Niners. And I'm not really sure how you can really argue that right now with where they're at. So we're going to the next game, Jets versus Broncos. I'm not sure who actually fucking watched this game because fuck the Jets. The Broncos, they're an interesting team this year. They seem like real competitors. But the Jets, they almost look better with Adam Gase. With his crazy bug eyes, but fuck Adam Gase. But they look like a peewee football team, and Zach Wilson looks like he's 16 years old. He looks like a little boy that just went to his sophomore prom or his high school dance, and he's getting all flustered right now with a hot girl, and he's getting nervous because he might get some pussy for the first time. But regardless, the Broncos defense, they're the real deal. Von Miller, who doesn't think this guy's a fucking hog? He's amazing. Bradley Chubb, the secondary is good as well. Nobody batted an eye when they shut out the Jets. It was a no-brainer, and if you didn't take the under on this game, you're an idiot. The Jets, they have no running game. Zach Wilson, 2 interceptions, 160 yards on 35 attempts. That's awful. I would definitely keep a lookout for Corey Davis if you're in fantasy. Corey Davis, he's going to do really good this year still. People are going to lose faith in him because of this game too. But the Jets, they just look like dick regardless. But Corey Davis, he's going to be getting those shares. I don't even know who Cole and Barrios are, honestly. Fuck them. They play for the Jets. I'm not watching any Jets games this year until the NFL forces them down my throat with a primetime game. So the Broncos, they had good field position all game. They didn't have to force any plays, and they just owned everything. Sucks for the Jets. And on the last note, Melvin Gordon, he's seeming like he's the number one back opposed to the rest of the team. With Williams, who had 12 carries for 29 yards. They both had touchdowns, but whatever. And that's really about it for the next game. This was a fun game to watch with the Dolphins versus the Raiders. Watching this out with the boys yesterday. I thought the Dolphins were going to get smoked. I thought the offense for the Dolphins is abysmal with seeing Tua and seeing Jacoby Brissett. I think Jacoby Brissett is a little bit better than Tua. Obviously, he can make some plays. He's a veteran. He's not going to have those rookie woes that Tua has, even though he's in his second year. I had no faith because they seem like a dump-off, rinky-dink offense. Derek Carr, the dude's clutch. Who isn't having Derek Carr at the top of like the MVP ranking so far? For the whole season. I'm excited to see where he actually ends up at because I think that the Raiders might blow it eventually. And it's interesting because the Raiders are 3-0 for the first time since they made the Super Bowl in 2002, and Carr is averaging more than 400 passing yards per game. So it's a big thing, especially when you have second-year players like Henry Ruggs and Bryan Edwards actually showing up. People were saying Henry Ruggs could have been the best wide receiver in the draft last year. So I'm excited to see what their receiving core is going to look like, especially with Waller. Waller in the first week, he had 17 targets. Last week, he did pretty well too. So I'm excited to see the receiving core and if they're going to be able to keep up with Derek Carr. And for the defense, Max Crosby is 16 months sober. And that motherfucker's playing lights out. Shout out to him. He's the heart and soul of that Raiders defense. But shout out to the Dolphins, though. The Dolphins, they played hard. So they marched down the field to tie it up at the end of the game and get a 2-point conversion. His time basically expired. The AFC West, the division that the Raiders are in, it's looking fucking scary. We were just talking about the Broncos. And it's also obvious that the Bills are winning the AFC East and not the Dolphins. I thought that the Patriots might do something good, but the Patriots aren't going to do shit. The Dolphins are probably not going to make the playoffs. But the Dolphins, they might have to make a trade deadline move and get Deshaun Watson. That would be fucking sick. If he actually played and if actually anything even happened. But who knows if it would happen? Who knows if Deshaun Watson would even play? And I think right now you're actually able to start Deshaun Watson if he was on your professional football team. But nobody wants that image right now. But Raiders, they're going to go to the playoffs this year, and it seems pretty probable unless they have a complete meltdown. But I could definitely see a meltdown happening. It's the Raiders. I don't trust John Gruden for some reason. But next game, the Buccaneers versus the Rams. This was the game of the week, it seemed like, for everybody. Stafford has got a huge swinging cock. Since he's off Detroit, it seemed like he was the only thing keeping that franchise afloat with him and Calvin Johnson. And then when he left, it was like him and Golden Tate or something. The Bucs defense, they do fucking suck. They were 30th in the league in pass defense coming into this week, only second to the Cowboys. And it's obvious that the Rams were going to throw the ball this game. Who didn't know that? They went from focus on the play action and run defense last year with Jared Goff now to a passing and defense because they actually trust their quarterback now. And it's exciting to watch Stafford. It also shows how fucking terrible Detroit is. I can't stress this enough. We're the worst franchises of all time, but the Bucs, they got saved by Brady. If not, the Bucs might have been the worst too, because those teams in the 70s or whatever were trash. But the real story, aside from how the Bucs pass defense is Tom Brady leading their team in rushing yards. If you look on the screen, Tom Brady had 3 carries for 14 yards and he had a touchdown. I don't know when the last time Tom Brady led his team in rushing yards. I don't think it ever actually happened, but it's exciting to see that on the stat sheet. Sony Michel on the opposite end, he had 20 carries for 67 yards. And the only reason why Michel got that many carries is because they were up late in the game and they were just running the ball down the fucking throats. And Gio Bernard on the Buccaneers side, he had 9 receptions for 51 yards and a touchdown. Where on that touchdown, he got laid the fuck out, which was bad by Tom Brady, putting his teammates in that kind of danger. But it was Gio Bernard's an exciting pickup for the Bucs, but he hasn't ran the ball once at all this season yet. He's had 9 catches. He's had a couple catches the rest of the season, which is fucking crazy. He hasn't ran the ball yet. He's a great player, but I'm not sure how to think of him, especially with fantasy or anything. I would stay away from him because running backs are a dime a dozen, and I would go to somebody a little bit more, some more value, some more consistency. But with Tom Brady, it seemed like he was just getting frustrated with the Rams defense after facing Atlanta and the Cowboys in weeks 1 and 2. He actually faced a good fucking defense with Aaron Donald, Ramsey, and the boys, who didn't see this coming, that he was going to have some woes and have some troubles. Rams looked like the real deal. Tom Brady was throwing passes to players like Gronk and Gio, and he was getting them fucked up. Over the middle of the field, I swear Gronk almost lost all his ribs after seeing that hit on him. Like, it was surprised he didn't look like some Chili's baby back ribs minus the barbecue sauce. It looked like ketchup because it might have been blood. But regardless, the Rams, Deshaun Jackson, this is the game why they have Deshaun Jackson. Knowing that they have a really shitty pass defense in Tampa Bay, they were going to throw the ball hard down the field. He had 3 receptions, 120 yards, and a touchdown, and Cooper Kupp is the fucking man. He's going to go off this season. He's might be the best pickup in fantasy this year if you play fantasy. And Van Jefferson, he's a second year. He was getting some touches. Van Jefferson was supposed to kind of play like a Deshaun Jackson role in that team this year. But even after all of this, last year, the Rams beat the Bucs in Tampa last year, but who went to win on go to the Super Bowl? Granted, they didn't have Matthew Stafford, but I wouldn't be too worried if I was a Tampa fan. Matt Stafford, he got better and better as the game went on, and he was able to carry them he's going to be able to carry them as long as they stay healthy. But Tom Brady, you can't bet against him this year. I wouldn't take this game too close to heart. This kind of reminds me of in basketball when the Miami Heat had LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh, and they faced the Spurs. They faced the Spurs, and the Spurs didn't show them anything that they were going to do in the playoffs. In fact, the Spurs, they sat all their players. They sat Ginobili, they sat Tim Duncan, their all-stars, Parker, and everybody. This is different, obviously, because it's not like they would sit Tom Brady, which they should have, because they were facing Aaron Donald, and Tom Brady had to get the ball quick out of his hands, and he led the league and led the team in rushing yards, which is weird, and put him in a little bit of danger. But I wouldn't be worried. Last note, Matt Stafford, he doesn't need to be told what to do like Jared Goff. The dude's a fucking veteran. He's going to make every throw. He can call plays on his own if he wants to. Right now, it's like Sean McVay and Matt Stafford, they trust each other. Bruce Arians and Tom Brady, they trust each other. I think Matt Stafford has a lot of say in this offense that I think that Tom Brady and Bruce Arians have together too. For the next game, Cardinals Jaguars. I didn't watch this game. I mean, just because it's the fucking Jaguars. But in the beginning of the game, Jaguars, they were up. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Cardinals were looking bad in the beginning of the game. And how do you let a 109-yard touchdown, a 109-yard return for a touchdown at the end of the half? They tried to kick a 68-yard field goal by Matt Prater or something like that. and they just let him return it at the end of the half as time expired. I was surprised by that, and I don't think I would ever do that myself, especially being a Bears fan, watching Devin Hester do that to the Giants years ago. But the Cardinals, they were obviously going to win this game because the Jaguars are trash. Straight up awful team. Trevor Lawrence is really bad. He's a pretty boy with long hair, and I'm not sure if any quarterback with long hair has won a Super Bowl. So if Aaron Rodgers, if you're listening to this, shave your fucking head. I don't care if you're keeping this hair for this Halloween costume you're having. It's trash, and I couldn't name you one quarterback with long hair that won a Super Bowl. So just saying. But Trevor Lawrence, dude, should they have kept the Jorts King and Gardner Minshew, the Gardner himself? I mean, probably not, because Gardner, it seems like you kind of know what he is, but they should have at least kept him. But for the Jags, James Robinson, he seems special. He solidified himself. He had 15 carries, 88 yards, a touchdown. He also had 6 receptions for 46, which is pretty big. I thought Marvin Jones was going to be one of the biggest sleepers this year for the Jaguars offense. Everyone likes DJ Shark and Laviska Shenault coming into his sophomore season, but I like Marvin Jones the best out of all of them because he's going to be able to give you some big play abilities. Not that they won't, because they will, but I think Marvin Jones is a little bit savvier and he's a better route runner. But the Jags, they're losing hope. They just traded a 9th overall pick, their 9th overall pick in the 2020 NFL draft, CJ Henderson, to the Panthers after the Panthers just lost their first-round draft pick. But the Cardinals, they got too many weapons. Rondell Moore, he didn't show up. DeAndre Hopkins had 3 for 21. Not sure what that really translates to in the long run. Hopkins is the clear number 1, but if you're picking up anybody in fantasy, AJ Green and Kirk, they're definitely interesting options. But I do like AJ Green because he's a savvy vet and he's going to be able to give you a lot more consistency rather than these other players. Not to say Hopkins won't. Hopkins is going to be the number 1. He's going to be the most consistent. But right now, the Cardinals are throwing it to whoever the fuck is open. Hopkins, he has a game that he hasn't had in forever, but whatever. And James Conner is getting the red zones. Him and Chase Edmonds, they split carries. If you see a typo, I actually put an I in front of the J in James Conner right here. But fuck that. So, but who cares? They're going to have a great rushing offense with Kyler Murray. He's going to be able to get out of trouble with his legs. He's going to get those short yardage touchdown passes, kind of like Trey Lance. Kyler Murray, he got a touchdown running it. He didn't have a touchdown passing it, but he also went 28 for 34. So that's a big sign. Kyler Murray, nothing to worry about here. I actually had the Cardinals winning 30-17 in this game. It seemed about right. Trevor Lawrence, he made some bad throws. He threw a pick 6 again, I think. I think he's had a couple this season. So whatever, Cardinals, Jaguars, who cares? It's the Jaguars. Go Cardinals, I guess. Next game, Bears versus Browns. I don't want to talk about this because I don't want to fucking cry or have Satan come up and get me, because after that game, I'm not going to heaven. I'm going to hell for rooting for this Bears team. But I wish I was in hell because there'd be fire there, and then that means Matt Nagy would be there, and Matt Nagy might get fucking fired. I swear to God, he wanted Justin Fields to fail. It's like he's like laughing maniacally, like, and he's like, Andy Dalton, I promise you the job. You're going to get this. Fields guy's not even getting a chance. And while he's jerking off Andy Dalton. But the Bears, they might have the worst offense of all time. In the past 30 years, the Bears might have the worst offense in the past 30 years compared to any team that has been in the league that long. But there were no plays that were being called for Justin Fields. Before the week, Matthew, I'm going to start calling him Matthew Nagy, he said they were going to prepare the same way for Fields that they would for Dalton, which is ridiculous. But now Matt Nagy said today, right before I started recording this live, that Nagy saying that the Bears will look at Nick Foles, Dalton, and Fields, all of them possibly starting. And they're all going to have the same game plan. They're all going to have, dude, are you kidding me? You've drafted Justin Fields and you don't have a game plan for this unique talent who obviously has the wheels of fucking Lamar Jackson. People were saying he might even be faster than him, maybe not even as elusive. But if I were Fields, I would just fake an injury or something. I would wait until I get a new coach, request a trade, go back to college. He loved Ohio State. He wanted to transfer from Georgia to there. He loves it there. But what the fuck is going on? Fuck the Bears. Fuck the coaching. Fuck Ryan Pace and fuck the McCaskies. The McCaskies, they don't want to get better, whatever. And the Bears defense, they actually look good too. Too bad. The Bears defense, they look good too. this game just got destroyed by the Bears offense. The Bears had some great plays on defense. They sacked Baker Mayfield 5 times, but too bad. The Bears on offense, they averaged 1.1 yards per play and averaged 1 net passing yard. Fire Nagy, fire Nagy, fire Nagy. I'm going to try to get everybody on Soldier Field to rush the field next home game until they get rid of him. We're going to go there. We're going to tie him. We're going to do Chinese water torture. I don't know. The McCaskies still own the team, and nothing will happen until everyone stops going to the games, which will never happen because I won't stop going to Bears games. But whatever. The Browns, they look good. I mean, the Browns, they look good. They were struggling against the defense, but they had control of the time of possession the entire game. Bears didn't have a chance. Kareem Hunt would be a number 1 running back on every other team in the league almost. Odell Beckham, he looked really good. He had 5 receptions. He had 7 targets. The next wide receiver had 2 receptions. Kareem Hunt had 6 receptions. And it's obvious what kind of team the Browns are. They're a little rinky-dink team too. They trust and they die by the run. Nick Chubb's going to run it down their throats. Kareem Hunt's going to be a change of pace back. That's going to be the pass-catching back. And they're going to do great. But when you complete 6 passes, Dave Montgomery runs for 34 yards, you're going to fucking suck. And that's just that. This game was really fucking fun to watch. I don't know if you watched this game, but it was pretty cool. But the biggest concerning aspect of this is that the Chiefs defense is awful. They need to do something. This was most people's Super Bowl pick at the beginning of the season, but they generate no pressure on defense. The biggest thing from the Chargers is that they really trust Herbert, and Herbert is no joke. He's showing that he can hang out with the big boys, in that division that he's in. Herbert, if they're able to have a good season in his sophomore season, it's going to be huge because I keep saying that AFC team, the AFC West division with the Broncos, the Raiders, the Chiefs, and the Chargers, they all had the possibility to make the playoffs. The Chiefs, they really only lost this game, which this is impressive on the Chiefs' point. They only lost this game because they turned the ball over 4 times. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he turned the ball over once in the beginning of the game and then once in the fourth quarter. And God, it's so frustrating watching them when the Chiefs are tied with the Lions for the 3rd worst total defense. And Mahomes can't bail out the defense every time when they're turning the ball over when it's not his fault. But one of the biggest issues is that Mahomes, he did a no-look pass this week, and it went off number 85's hands. I don't know who the fuck that was. Honestly, he wasn't Kelsey Hill, Hardman, Helaire, so I didn't really know who he was. But it went right through his hands, and that was one of the interceptions that he threw out of the 2 that he threw. So that was concerning because he's not on the same level as his receivers as far as the situational awareness. It's not like people know that that's coming, but he's going to have to stop with the cutesy little stuff. But that also does make him special and makes him Patrick Mahomes. And right now, the Chiefs, they're at the bottom of the division for the first time in what seems like for forever. Thank God the Bears didn't draft this bum. Thank God we drafted Mitch Trubisky because whatever, but fuck that. But Mahomes, don't do these no-look passes. CEH, he isn't going to be able to get going now that he's having these ball security problems, having a few fumbles in the season. He threw 1 pass to Kelsey that got picked, and he was just playing too loose, Mahomes. And when your defense is that bad, you really can't afford to turn the ball over. And you can't afford to turn the ball over. Everything I said, it all makes Mahomes great, but he needs more situational awareness. Thank God the Bears drafted Mitch Trubisky instead of his bum ass. But the Chargers, they got 21 points off turnovers. It was still a close game. I'm not super worried about the Chiefs because they're not going to turn the ball over 4 times every game. And even though they turned the ball over 4 times, they still won. They still were in the game. It was 30-24. I thought the Chiefs were going to win, but when you turn the ball over 4 times and you still score 24 points and make it a 6-point game, you don't really have that much to worry about aside from just finely tuning your offense because you can outscore people, but they might sign Richard Sherman or something if he's able to get back in the league. But the biggest part, the Chargers, they believe in Herbert. It shows the team has his back. Late in the fourth quarter, they went for it on 4th and 9 late in the game. This is the 5th game-winning drive for Herbert since he got in the league. It's exciting to see what he's going to do. He's a young talent, and him and Mahomes, they might be tops in the league with Lamar and a few other quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson, if he gets back in the league, we're going to see what happens. But for the next game, the Washington R-Words, the football team versus the Bills, who didn't see the Bills winning this fucking game? There was great throws from Josh Allen. It's great to see him get back into midseason form. He threw for over 350, 4 touchdowns, threw the ball 43 times, had a great completion percentage. The running game for them, it looked okay. Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, they're going to be running back by committee. Josh Allen, 4 carries, 9 yards and a touchdown. Heineke had 8 carries for 21. Heineke, he's a little scrappy player. It's kind of annoying watching him play. He's always running around. He looks really nervous. I can't really tell if he's like serious when he's running around scared with like a chicken with his head cut off. But he's an exciting player. He's still super young. It's his first season that he's actually getting a little chance, aside from last year when he was facing Tom Brady in the playoffs where they got beat the fuck up. And Antonio Gibson had a bad game. He was saved by 1 reception for 73 yards and led the team in reception yards. And we only had 12 carries for 31. McKissick was showing up a little bit, I guess. He wasn't doing anything much. The running game, they were playing catch up, so they had to pass the ball and do all these things. And the football team, the R-words, their defense, it looks awful, but it may be because they were facing the Bills. The Bills, they're a great high-powered offense. They just scored 35 points last week. That's nothing to, not pay attention to against the Dolphins. But regardless, the football team's defense, they look like ass. They look slow. They're not getting as many sacks. And especially when you have Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders, Gabriel Davis, and Stephon Diggs facing for your cornerbacks facing them. They're one of the best receiving corps in the league. And Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders, they are great compliments to Diggs. And Diggs, he's going to be getting the attention from the number 1 cornerback, and the field's going to open up, especially to these slot guys like Cole Beasley and Sanders. And they're going to be open. But who didn't have the Bills winning this game? No surprise. The only surprise is that the Washington football team's defense is looking even fucking worse. But lastly, Josh Allen, he's throwing the ball around. Diggs, he had 6 for 62. Sanders had 2 touchdowns. Beasley had 11 receptions, which led the game. Beasley was going to do that anyways. Beasley's going to be a dog this year. Fun fact, Beasley has never reached over 1,000 yards in a season. We're going to see if he could do that this year, but with these many weapons and with Knox getting targets as a tight end, especially in the end zone, he's going to be an end zone target. We're going to see how that plays out. But the next game, the Colts versus the Titans, this was an interesting game, especially with Carson Wentz not being 100%. Wentz looked scared. Wentz looked like he was trying to get rid of the ball faster than he ever has in any game I've ever seen him play. He looked like a scared little pussy boy. And Ryan Tannehill, he did make some shitty interceptions. It made it a closer game than it should have. But at the end of the day, Derrick Henry's fucking insane. They're going to run him into the ground. He's a big bowling ball. He's that ball from Indiana Jones that's going to keep going and kill you if you even try to stand up to it. But the most interesting thing about this, Derrick Henry, he had 3 receptions this game, but he's never had more than 19 receptions in a year so far. So this year he's on pace for 68 receptions for Derrick Henry, who's going to run the ball 300 times this year and get 1,500 yards and catch the ball. He's not going to catch it 68 times. I doubt that, especially in an offense with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. But he's going to be a PPR nightmare this year. Derrick Henry's looking like he might be the number 1 overall draft pick in fantasy if you were to redo the drafts. But even with all that, it was very interesting to see that when A.J. Brown got injured, Julio Jones didn't even play in the fourth quarter. Julio Jones was 3 for 47. Westbrook, he had four catches, 53 yards and a touchdown. Ryan Tannehill, he only threw for 197. That's because of their field position and Derrick Henry running the ball 28 times. But I'm not worried about the Titans. They're getting in the midseason form. They always get a little bit hotter in the middle of the season. We're going to see what goes on. But Carson Wentz did not look healthy. He didn't look like he could protect himself. He was getting rid of the ball way earlier than later. And it showed that they didn't trust the backups and Brett Huntley and Jacob Eason. And they got Sam Ehlinger, who they drafted this past year. And I think Sam Ehlinger, they would have trusted him, but he's injured. He's got like an ACL tear or something. He's got something with his ACL. And Wentz had 10 quarterback hits against him, and making himself available for this week, it may have kind of fucked him over a little bit. But when you're facing Tannehill and Henry, they're going to put the team on their fucking backs because their top 2 wide receivers didn't play the whole game. Tannehill, he could run when he needs to, and he was making plays in the fourth quarter. by running, using his legs. He had 56 rushing yards on 5 carries. That's nothing to look at and go against, you know? But no one else in this division has a chance to make the playoffs aside from the Titans and the Colts. Tannehill, he can run when he needs to, but this is a divisional game. It's actually a big game because these are the only 2 teams in this division that can actually do something, because who even trusts the Texans and the Jaguars? I mean, come on now, be serious. But that's why Wentz had to start. I feel like Frank Wright, that's what gave him the best chance to win. But the Colts, they need to compete in these divisional games because they're going to matter at the end of the season. And with Taylor, if you own John Taylor in any of your fantasy leagues, I would definitely be concerned. John Taylor, 10 carries, 64 yards. Nyheim Hines, 6 carries, 25. I know that they had to pass the ball a little bit. Carson Wentz threw the ball 37 times, completed 19 of them. Very bad, not looking good, but I see better days for the Colts just because how can you not, especially after this game versus the Titans. So for the next game, Saints versus the Patriots, this was a really weird game. Just because seeing Tom Brady and Drew Brees not face each other, this would have been a game that would have been, a Sunday nighter, Monday night, Thursday night game where everybody would have gone insane for, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. But with the Patriots, Mac Jones, he just looked like a rookie. When your rookie quarterback throws it 51 times versus a well-coached team like the Saints, you're going to lose. Not to say that the Patriots aren't well-coached, but they were down early. They had to gunsling the ball. And Mac Jones fucking had 6 carries for 28 yards and led the team in rushing yards. Just like Tom Brady did. Like you're not going to win when you do that, when your quarterback leads your team in rushing, unless you have a rushing quarterback like Lamar Jackson. And Sean Payton, he's such a good coach. It seems like he's not going to let Winston make that many mistakes. He's not going to let him fuck it up like Jameis will fuck it up. He's going to give him good reads, and he's going to make him check it down. The Saints, they had good field position throughout the game. Mac Jones, he got pressured a lot by the Saints. The Saints defense, they ain't no joke. I was saying, pick them in your fantasy, stream them. They're going to be a great team this year, especially on defense. Marshawn Lattimore, I believe he was the one who got a pick 6 against Mac Jones. But they've been good over the past few years, Saints defense. And one of the biggest stories is, Jones had 3 picks. And now Bill Belichick, they're having a hard time getting first downs. When James White went out, so James White got injured, that's going to hurt for the young quarterback. White, he's all reliable. He's a rookie's best friend. He's a little thump off guy. Take this, get the fuck out of my face. Go get me 10 yards. James White went out, and then the Patriots, they were trailing early. They'd focus on throwing the ball, and when Mac Jones, your leading rusher, you got to call 911 because your offense is fucking burning down. Both teams are kind of weird this season. I don't know who still has faith in Jameis. He had a good game. He only threw the ball. He only completed 13 passes for 21, 128, and 2 touchdowns. I don't know what kind of sample size this is for Jameis this season, but he's not stealing any crab legs anytime soon because he's eating right now. Both teams are weird. I have a lot of faith in Bill Belichick. They're going to struggle with rookie quarterbacks. None of the rookie quarterbacks look good this year, aside from Trey Lance, who has barely played. He's played like 4 snaps, got like 2 touchdowns, but the biggest focal point of this game was the Saints were more physical. They got off to an early lead. They forced the Patriots to attack them on offense, which the Patriots don't have a great offense. Saints were just more physical. That was the biggest difference maker. For the next game, Falcons-Giants, fuck this game. I mean, who watched this game unless you're a fan of them? It was funny. The reports were the Giants owner, John Mara, he knocked over some trash cans after leaving his suite in frustration after the game. And I'm surprised this doesn't happen every game. It's fucking hilarious. Not just like being like an old man throwing these temper tantrums. It's always funny to poke fun at these assholes. And I'm surprised he doesn't have like a comfort garbage can he could just beat the fuck out of every week, or at least have like his own little assistant that he gets to just slap around with some baby powder or something because he owns the fucking Giants. But the Giants and Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, they're fucking nothing. The only thing that's keeping them relevant is because they play in the NFC East. The NFC East is trash. Danny Jones, Danny Dimes, he's big, he's athletic. I'm sure he's got a huge cock, but he's going to get you some rushing yards, but he's not going to get you the dub. The offensive line is so fucking bad. That's one of the reasons why. Saquon, the offensive line is looking so bad, it's making Saquon look like ass, who Saquon, I think, is another generational talent. And when they drafted him, I was like, man, this guy's going to be good. He's got the thighs of a man. He's got the thighs of a dinosaur. The guy has huge legs. He's the dude's a fucking monster, but the Giants are going to waste him. The league's going to get better. The league is always better when the Giants are good, but I don't see them getting any better with their current situation, especially with all the injuries they've had this week. New York, they're looking like they need to go into hibernation for the rest of the year. They need to win. You're going to win a couple games this year, maybe. I don't think they're going to go 0-17, but when you're facing Atlanta and you're scoring 14 fucking points, something's bad's happening, and nobody's denying that. Daniel Jones throwing it 35 times, no touchdowns, 266. Galladay was leading receiver. Shepard went out this game. He's injured. I'm not sure what's going on with him. Daniel Jones, he had 8 carries and 39 yards. It shows what they think about this offensive line when the quarterback is having to do these quarterback sneaks because they don't have the ability to have the running back run straight up the middle. They have to figure out what's going on, and they have to scheme in order to get these rushing plays out. But Atlanta is looking bad too. Matt Ryan, he's a safe quarterback. Matt Ryan, he's going to take the 5 yards that you give him on the first down passing play. He's going to check it down every time. And when Cordero Patterson's your leading receiver, you're going to have some problems. He was 6 for 82. Calvin Ridley, he had 8 receptions for 61. But that brings in what I was saying with Matt Ryan going to his safe targets. He's not going to fuck up the game. He's just going to try to do what he does. Left it the Young Ho Koo at the end of the game for them to win. But Atlanta and the Giants, they're going fucking nowhere. Only bright spot about the Giants is that the NFC East is fucking garbage. And that it is what it is. It just is what it is at that point. Second to last game, Bengals Steelers. I really liked this game going into it. I thought that the Bengals were clearly going to win just because I think this is the biggest downfall for the Steelers. This is the biggest drop-off they've had from season to season in quite some time. With Big Ben being 39 years old, Big Ben should have retired halfway through this game. So I'm not sure if anybody, if you guys saw this, but Big Ben, he ran out of the pocket and he just fell. He was doing a rollout and he just fell and just dead fished. And while he threw it, it was the funniest fucking thing in the world. He doesn't have the arm strength that he once has, and that's why Najee Harris had so many receptions. Najee Harris had 14 receptions for 102 yards. And part of that's probably because Claypool and Deontay Johnson, they had some injuries, and I get that. And the Bengals defensive line, they look good. They haven't really given up much rushing, especially, last week when they were facing David Montgomery. They kind of held him down. Najee Harris, 14 for 40. He still had a crazy fantasy day because those 14 receptions and 100 yards. But the Bengals, they were ahead in this game the entire time. And Juju's banged up too. I forgot to mention that. So that has something to do with it. The Steelers banged up. TJ Watt's out. They didn't establish any rhythm. But Joe Burrow, he looked good. Let Mixon run the fucking ball. Burrow, he only had 172 yards, 3 touchdowns, which is cool. Jamar Chase, he has 4 touchdowns, has 2 touchdowns in this game with 4 receptions. He's looking good. He could finally see the laces on the ball, whatever. But this is the downfall of the Steelers. I've been saying this is going to happen. The Bengals are at the top of the division for the first time in forever. This division has been great for a long, long time, minus those shitty Browns years, some shitty Bengals years, because the Bengals with Andy Dalton, they were pretty good, made the playoffs for a long time, didn't win a playoff game, but fuck them. Jamar Chase could be a stud, but Higgins was out this game. That's why they were focused on running the ball anyways. Bengals defense, it looks good. Watch out for the Bengals this year. Not that they're really going to do much, but for this last game, it's probably one of the shittiest games, but one of the most memorable. I can't even believe this game was close. Ravens are lucky that Justin Tucker is the fucking GOAT. The guy was just dragging his cock around the field afterwards because he just probably had an aura around him. And if you watched NFL last week or on Sunday yesterday, you knew that there was a 66-yard field goal and everyone was like, ooh, wow. The Ravens are so lucky. And this is all after last week where they beat the Chiefs and now they almost lose to the Lions where they should have. It was a 66-yard field goal, ridiculously impressive. Justin Tucker should get himself in the Hall of Fame based upon this and his past his entire career since 2012 when he came in the league. He already has a Super Bowl ring. When he was a rookie, he was on that Super Bowl team with the Harbaugh with Flacco in 2012. He got a Super Bowl ring. He's going to get all the records. And before this game, he was kicking. He was kicking to both sides of the field, and he was short from 65 on each side of the field during warmups. But when you get in that game, though, you get a little extra boost. You get a little bit, hit the top of the crossbar or, the bottom of it. And I didn't think it was going in. Just like when somebody hits it, you hear the doing, and you're like, oh, fuck, Cody Park, you double doink. I'm a Bears fan. Fuck my life. But that thing went straight back, which was exciting. Seeing that, it went straight back. That was pretty cool. But as far as the Ravens go, Ravens have no running backs. J.K. Dobbins was supposed to do something this year until he got injured, obviously. He was supposed to have like 15 carries a game, something like that. He was supposed to be somewhat of an asset in the running game. Right now, Latavius Murray had 7 carries. He was the leading back, running back, not Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson only ran it 7 times too. Lamar Jackson threw it 31 times. The interception kind of hurt him. Tyrell Williams or Tyson or Tyson, whatever. Not like the chicken, but like the person. He had 5 carries for 22 yards. They just didn't use him. They didn't really use Murray. Didn't really pass to him either. Mark Andrews kind of expected that he was going to probably be the best receiving person on this team. Kind of weird how the best receiving person on the Ravens is their tight end and their best running person is their quarterback. So interesting, kind of weird. The Ravens have almost no fantasy value aside from Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews, Marquise Brown, maybe Sammy Watkins. He's going to get his targets. Devin Duvernay. He had a really good catch in the end zone, I'm not going to lie. But when you face the fucking Lions, who look like ass every year in and year out, you should have done something, What I have to say about the Lions is that Goff, he is what he is. He doesn't have good coaching. Dan Campbell, the coach of the Lions, he seems okay, I guess. But the Lions look like ass. Swift, he's splitting carries with Jamal Williams. They both, Swift had 14, Williams had 12, 42, 47. Each had a touchdown. Swift had 7 receptions, so that's going to do well for PPR leagues. But when you're splitting 45% of the carries with Jamal Williams, he doesn't really have too much fantasy value as much as you thought. And Hawkins in this game, relatively non-existent. I don't think that would have mattered much anyways, but who cares? Justin Tucker is the story. He went out there, ran on the field, kicked a 66-yard field goal, and won the fucking game. This week, today, going on Monday night, Eagles, Cowboys. I definitely think that it's going to be a weird game. I do not trust the Eagles at all with Jalen Hurts. I'm just going to go into this real quick. I have the Cowboys. I went into this earlier on my last live video post. The Cowboys, I have -3 in the under. The over-under was 51.5 on Saturday. I have yet to check again. Spread, the Cowboys are -3. The Eagles are playing at the Cowboys. I have the Cowboys winning 24-14. I'm not sure if I trust anything with Jalen Hurts that he can do, even though I'm starting him on my fantasy team this week, because I think he's going to get some cheap rushing yards and maybe some garbage time. But it's a divisional matchup, the NFC East. It's going to be a good game. We're going to see what happens. It could be closer. It could be, 27-20, 27-24. I don't know. It's a big range. I just said. I have no fucking clue. Don't take my advice. This is Zips Bad Coaching. Let's see what happens. Happy Monday. Happy life. Let's fucking go. All right, y'all. Doses.